We appreciate saying that he looks better.
What time is it?
Tuesday night, 10 p.m., and this is the C3 Podcast.
I guess you've heard of my reputation. I've had my share of fooling around. But everybody needs stimulation.
I had fun, man. Just out, you guys joking. We working at the same time. Putting the work in as a team. Like I said, man, I'm just glad to be with you guys.
My favorite night of the week?
Good Lord, it's a good day to be a Panthers fan. And we the best. You heard them. You heard them say it. We are the best, Joe. And we put it on the mugs. Right here, man. Welcome back, Panther fans, and I'm welcoming myself back. It's the Professor, back in the country, back stateside, and I'm happy to be here tonight to talk Carolina Panthers with my favorite homeboys, that freaking Puerto Rican Joe Riolano. How's it going, my man?
Tony Dunn, it is so good to see you. I'm glad you're back home safe and sound, and I'm glad it's Tuesday night, brother. What a best night of the week this is. We get to talk Carolina Panthers football. There's all sorts of stuff we've got to cover, OTAs, and so much more. And you're back, and we have our best man from the West, Mr. Mel Mayock, back on the show.
What's happening, fellas? It's been a long time since the three of us got together, and let me just say, what a crazy world we live in, man. In a week where you knew it was going to be an explosive week in the news, right? You had a situation with a Muslim, a gay bar, and guns all in one situation come together. So that's dominating everything in the news. But now we get to take a break for an hour and have fun and talk about our passion about the Carolina Panthers. So let's have some fun, man, in this crazy world we live in.
We are definitely going to have some fun. I have been having fun for 2 weeks, fellas. I've been in in Paris, and I just had a trip of a lifetime, celebrated my 10-year anniversary with my wife, and so everything fantastic. Get to the airport on the way back, guys. In line, guess who I see? The rapper Little Dicky, and we got our picture taken with him. So we had a blast from the moment we left to the moment we got back, and I'm still trying to get back into the rhythm of this time because, like, right now it'd be 4 o'clock in the morning there. Okay, so you can't. I hope it's not going to stay that way. Is it any better, Joey?
Not yet.
Not yet. All right. Well, you pick up, and I'll drop out and come back in.
Okay, will do. Yes, Tony did tweet out the picture of him and Little Dicky. I saw all kinds of pictures on Facebook. Or Lil Dicky, I guess I should say. I had no idea who the guy was.
I was going to say, raise your hand if you've never heard of Little Dicky.
And then, like I said, I had no idea who he was. And the next thing you know, I see him on a Hardee's commercial. So go freaking figure. Unbelievable. But yes, Tony and Miranda were in France. That was so. It looks like they had a really good time. They were taking pictures all over the place, and it seems like they really did. The two of them had a chance to just get away. Their parents were wonderful enough to watch their 3 lovely children while they were gone, and I'm sure they made the most of that time. Mel, you were pretty busy. You were in Chicago last week, is that right?
Man, I can't even remember where I was, but yes, last week I was in Chicago. Had a lot of fun.
I'm back.
It was not big money Tony type of fun over in Paris for 2 weeks, but it was a lot of fun.
Right.
Okay, I'm back. Right. Is the microphone in better condition?
Yes, sir. We can hear you now.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, I hope the whole intro wasn't screwed up. But here, while we're talking about I mean, you know what? First of all, like, I just feel like that's just par for course, fellas.
It is.
That's just what goes down on the C3 podcast. Tonight's episode, guys, we've got a good show. We're going to want you to tweet in and participate. Tonight's episode is 16.18, Dave Gettleman to sue Eagles for looming defensive tackle bubble. We're going to be talking about Kawann Short in lieu of the Fletcher Cox deal. We're going to be talking about the mini camps that are going on now. It's mandatory, and Kawann Short was there, so we'll get into the details of this because there's so much surrounding this story. The media is fueling the fire at the same time. We're going to talk about another guy who's fired up, Ron Rivera, and is not in a good way, upset with the rookies today and the focus and the preparation that these guys have had in their first day. So that's not. Yes, exactly. And also, Byrd is back. We're going to be Byrd watching, fellas. Byrd watching for Byrd, who is again making plays. Are we getting too excited? We've got much, much more soundbite from Ricky Prohl on Stephen Hill. So you guys can be sure to jump in the action and be part of the conversation by tweeting us using the hashtag C3 or @cat_chronicles. While you are supporting us in all these different ways, share the show with a friend. Like us on YouTube. We're a couple of subscribers away, I think, from 300 or 400 subscribers on YouTube. iTunes, Stitcher, anywhere you listen to us, just give us a little thumbs up and a little bump. We appreciate it. I think that's it, guys. With all that said, let's just go ahead and jump into this show.
Austria. Good day, mate. Let's put another shrimp on the barbie.
No, I'm just getting warmed up. Here's Charlie facing the fire, and there's George hiding in Big Daddy's pocket.
Dylan and Dylan, because I spit hot fire.
Take a flame through to this place.
What's hot on C3?
I'll tell you what's hot is it's going to be a new segment that Mel wants to. It's not even a segment, a new kind of feature to the C3 podcast. Mel, tell them what you want to do. Ring that bell, my friend.
Well, hey, I got to tell you, I get people asking all the time, hey, can we come on your show? We love your show. I'd love to get on there. I'd love to express my opinion. And we've already got a lot of people that tweet in during the show using hashtag C3, and you can always do that. But for you guys that feel froggy, you want to come in on the show, you're listening to what we got to say, and you want to speak your mind, we have the ability now for you to tweet us and say, all you have to say is, ring my bell, hashtag C3. We have a little doorbell sound effect that will take place, and as long as you have a Google Hangout, if you have the Hangout app on your phone, the professor will send you over a quick invite. You'll be able to join the show for 90 seconds and express your thoughts and really interact live on the show. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to see
You can even, if you're not interested in being on camera, you can just do the audio part and turn off the video option on your camera. So it'll be fun. You can get your voice in. And like Mel said, tweet us using the hashtag C3. Ring my bell, and also give an @mention to Mel in it because he's going to have to keep up with it tonight because I'm rocking and rolling, and I want to talk about Kawann Short, fellas. Kawann Short, the story, again, is heated. It is the main story coming into minicamp, going into the training camp shortly, or I guess they have their next long break and then training camp, but Fletcher Cox inks a big, huge deal, guys, making him, I think, the highest or second highest non-quarterback paid per year dude, upwards of the tune of $17 million a year, 106 over 6 years, $36 million or $35 million guaranteed. Joey, this is is this too much for Fletcher Cox?
I think so. I think the Eagles way overpaid for Fletcher Cox. Now, he's good. I'm not saying he isn't. But I'm saying that is quarterback money when you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars.
That's definitely right. Here is, I think the total is this. It looks like extension 6 years, $102.6 million, 17.1 per year. It looks like he has a full guarantee of $36 million. And if you look at like the probability of earnings, there's a cool. Actually, we're gonna have him on the show in 2 weeks. His name is Bryce Johnston. You can find his work on overthecap.com. He talks about the actual earnings that you should be interested in looking at rather than just the standard, average per year or this guaranteed or injury guaranteed. He said something to the effect of he's going to earn. There's like a 95% chance he earns the first 4 or 5 years of his first 4 years of his deal. He actually has a better chance of making more money than Ndamukong Suh in the way that this deal is structured. A lot on the line for the Philadelphia Eagles, and now that means a lot on the line or a lot of cash on the table, Mel, for Kawann Short. Reports are coming from Black and Blue Review that sources are saying that Kawann Short is going to his agent's going to the table with a number in the range of this Fletcher Cox deal as a starting point. How do you feel about that, Mel?
I was afraid of it. We talked about this about a month ago. You know, we all sat here and we talked and we said, that's a guy that we got to sign. And honestly, he's probably the most valuable player, him and Luke Kuechly, without a doubt, the most valuable players on the defensive side of the ball. And I was afraid when agents get involved, things can go south real quick. And Dave Gettleman is not one to be strong-armed. So I think that Vernon Butler pick had this type of situation in mind. It was an insurance policy. So, yeah, I'm not liking the direction it's going. I'm still hopeful, but I'm not liking it.
I feel that it once again shows how adept Dave Gettleman is that he's not only is it not his style to be strong-armed, he's not going to put this team in a position, it seems like, where there's an opportunity to do so. And you see this with Short, is that no matter how great he is at this point, is as Legacy Lines Lynn has said on Twitter, is we got him under contract for this year. You can franchise tag him the next year. You've got him for 2 years. He may be unhappy particularly, but on top of that, you've also got some leverage to where you're not handcuffed to him because you've got Starr, you've got now Vernon Butler. Is that we're not? It's not a position to where now. If he sits out, that the team is screwed forever.
Right.
Joey, you think this was how much is that real foresight? Did he see this bubble coming, like when the Sue deal and then the Malik Jackson? Is this him knowing that Short is going to be able to command that type of money?
Well, I really thought about this a lot, and I've taken it beyond just the initial shock of the money. I think it's because part of it is because the replacement for Short was drafted in the first round. We've been talking about Vernon Butler. That's right. It seems that Carolina likes what they've seen from Butler so much so that it seems, are really considering letting Short walk away. If he's expecting Cox kind of money. But I really believe Dave Gettleman is looking at the future of this franchise and is hesitant in committing that big money to one player that's not the quarterback. And go ahead.
What's the right move?
Okay. Bear with me a minute. I think if we can come to a reasonable number, then we keep him. And one thing he has to remember is Short will be 29 next year. He's not a young guy. Vernon Butler's 22. Cox is only 25. Okay.
Right, or 26, yeah.
Right. So that's a big difference. I mean, you're talking about a 6-year deal that'll carry him through, he's 31, 32. You know, a deal like that for Kawann, he's going to be like 34, 35. You know, that's too much of a contract to put on the Panthers right now. And, you know, you're mortgaging the future of the franchise by doing something like that. And also consider this, aside from the football on the field play, we know that when Jerry Jones passes away, it's inevitable, he will, we all do. The team is to be sold.
Jerry Richardson.
I'm sorry, Jerry Richardson, excuse me.
Jerry Jones will never die.
No, he will never die. So,
he is dead already, actually.
So the team will be sold. It needs to be in good enough shape financially that it is appealing to a buyer. If a potential buyer comes in and sees this team strapped and burdened with all these big contracts and doesn't see a way out, they're going to be really unlikely to buy the team, or they're going to use that as an excuse to move the team. So I think Gettleman is trying to keep all this in mind when in negotiations, and he does not want to overpay for anyone. He paid $100 million to Cam Newton because he's the quarterback and he's freaking Cam Newton. Okay?
Right.
We're talking about a defensive lineman that we have already drafted a replacement for.
And you're talking about, too, that numbers that are Cam Newton numbers.
Yes.
Like,
Exactly.
I mean, these numbers are the same numbers where they're very close. The Ndamukong Suh deal, the only reason it's not more than Cam's is because there's an extra year on it.
Right.
But the numbers are the same, just the year. So, man, it's just like the same car. You just got the mortgage payment for an extra year.
That's it. You said it.
Here's what I think should happen. Here's the right move for both the team and KK Short. It's to do a deal right now that's a shorter deal. One that has a lot of money in it. One that doesn't sacrifice the amount of money that he could potentially make, right? Instead of masking what the value of the contract is in these numbers that are absurd to a certain degree, right? 6 years for a player. I say you use the Revis approach. And the Revis approach says this, is that if I get in a contract that is too long, when new players reset the market, I don't get to take advantage of that. And I get put in a position to where I either got to cause problems by sitting out camp or whatever it may be, or being disgruntled within the media, right? Or I've got to just put my head down and be the good soldier boy that everybody wants a player to be. So what I say you do is this, is you say, KK, look, you're 27 years old, going on 28 next year.
I think he'll be 28 this year.
Is it already?
Yeah, I think
so. He's 27, going on 28 now.
Right, and then next year he'll be 29.
So old. How is he so old? It's crazy.
He was a 23-year-old rookie.
Okay. So what I say is this: is let's pay you $15 million a year with 30. Put a good amount of money to where basically you say this is going to be a 3-year deal, and you're going to play it out, right? And then you can then hit the free agency market again when you're 30 and try to get another contract. That's another 3-year deal. But by that point, the market number has been inflated again. So you get 17, 18, 19 by that point, and you'll make more money in the long term. I think that's good for the Panthers. I think it's good for Kawann Short. I guess the downfall to this is you have to hope that you can keep producing. And the other downfall is that Kawann Short his stock is at an all-time high, right? It really can't get much higher. Right. What year does he have? What year does he have to put together next year to keep his stock this high going into free agency? Mel, can he actually become more valuable this year?
Well, yeah, he certainly can, but he's also risking an awful lot by not doing a deal.
He's never been hurt.
No, that's one awesome thing about him. He has played 16 games every single year, and that's
That's rare.
ask Starla Tulele. That's not easy to do, right? Especially that D tackle position. But last year he had 11 sacks, but the year before that he had 3.5. The year before that he had 1.5. So what happens if he comes out in 2016? Vernon Butler gets a lot of playing time because whatever reason, or he gets dinged up, or he just doesn't have the year he had, and he has 5 sacks. Right? I mean, he's risking a lot. So
then he's back to $12 million anyway.
Yeah. So one thing I looked at is, you're right, we got him I say we right now have him for 3 years if we do nothing, because you've got him booked for $1 million this year. Next year we could franchise him. Let's say, and I don't know the exact numbers, but let's say that's $17 million as a franchise the following year. That's $18 million. That's $18 million in virtually guaranteed money, and then we franchise him again, which is going to put him into the $20 million plus range. All right, so you're then looking at close to $40 million as guaranteed money over the next 3 years. So they need to sit down. I agree with you. They need to do a 3-year deal and try to even add it on to this current year. So a 4 total year deal. Point out to him, hey, we've virtually got you under contract for $40 million. We'll give you a 4-year deal.
They can screw them, and not screw them, but they can really. They hold the cards. Not only like Joey said, is you drafted players, but there's so much time left. You can extend this, and
by the way, you're risking injury. You're risking a subpar year, and your market goes way down. We give you 4 years, $65 million. Take it. Take the high guarantee. You're getting $15 million more than you would otherwise, and be happy. And let's go win a Super Bowl. That's what I hope happens. But
yeah,
I'll tell you, we'll see. Agents, man,
you guys
are in the business.
You guys have both really made some serious and valid points, and I can only hope that someone in Short's camp will catch wind of this, because we're not going to work out a long-term deal with them. It's just not going to happen. Best case scenario, I think, is a 3, maybe 4-year deal, including this year. It's not financially beneficial for the Panthers. We would strap ourselves for the future, and we want to be contenders forever, right? We always want to be in the playoff mix. Always want to be talked about as possibly winning the NFC Championship. We want to be like the Packers, the Giants, the Patriots, and the AFC. We want to be those kind of teams. Mention those teams.
Exactly. And Legacy Line, Ann, puts out there the best idea of the night. She says, okay, let's get both the freaking Puerto Rican and Panther drafter in the room with DG, and let's get this negotiation done.
Yeah, I think, too, there's something to be said about the value of being on a team where there's a lot of talent around you. And if you could be on a team for the next 3 years to where you're going to make that amount of money and then have an opportunity to keep your stock high in the process, right, as in continue to be a productive player, one that stands out to be a star in playoff games and things like that, instead of playing on the Eagles, is that you can. I think there's a middle ground, and the middle ground I don't think is asking KK to take a hometown discount, but it's maybe to take a different approach to the way that you look at what a successful deal is. You can still make upwards of that same amount of money, and very close to it, but be a far more friendly deal for you and the team going down the road. That's kind of my thoughts on the matter, and I hope we can do that. Joey, also, Ron Rivera, not too happy. In fact, I think I thought I have a sound clip today, mini camps going on, and Ron Rivera upset at the youngins.
Probably the biggest thing more than anything else was it was the mistakes more than that. And as I said, we got a group of young guys that are going to get opportunities on this football field, and they've been doing these things for several weeks, and to see the mistakes that were made on very basic things, it really disappoints me more than anything else. They all understood that, and I reminded them we play in 86 days.
Joey, the rookies, he mentioned that they're going to have a chance, an opportunity to play a role on this team, and clearly he's talking about Worley, he's talking about Bradbury. He's not singling out the defensive tackle in Vernon Butler, Zach Sanchez. What's going on here? Are these guys learning to be pros the hard way?
I think so. I think with any rookie, there's going to be bumps in the road, and they're experiencing their first bumps in the road. It's one thing to go over, plays and formations in sweatpants, but it's something totally different with shoulder pads and helmets and moving at half to 3/4 speed. It's something really different. And they're getting a taste of it right now. They're going up against veterans. They're playing beside veterans who know where they're supposed to go and know what they're supposed to do. And when these young guys make a mistake, it stands out. It's very clear and obvious. And the coaches had hoped, I'm sure, that they were on the same page as everybody else. But I did see Ron Rivera said, we're not stopping for these guys and playing catch-up. They have to catch up on their own. They have got to figure out a way to get on the same page as the rest of the defense. And that's part of, making the transition to the big boys league.
How do you get them to catch up when you need them? How do you not wait around when there's some real questions? I saw a story come out today on Black and Blue Review talking about how Ben Wickery could still be an option at the nickel because there's not a standout, and just 4 weeks ago, everybody was saying that Zach Sanchez was on near lock to play that position. There's some real question marks in our secondary. You've got Kurt Coleman as the leader at safety, and you got another young player in Trey Boston. How do you get all these guys to catch up when you need them? How do you not leave them behind?
Mel, you want to touch on that one?
Well, that's a fear that I have. When Josh went walking and we did not re-sign Roman Harper, even though Harper's not my favorite guy in the world by any stretch, but you're talking about a lot of turnover in that secondary, a lot of change. And secondary is really all about communication and experience. And we don't have a whole lot of experience back there. Last year we had Josh Norman and Peanut Tillman on day one. It's going to be rookies out there this year. So that's one thing that makes me nervous, is how long it's going to take for them to get up to speed, because it's not going to be perfect day one for sure.
No, and I think the best thing they can do is work with stay after practice when everybody else is gone. They need to stay at the facility, watching tape, talking with coaches, going over their playbooks, going over formations.
I have to say, I totally agree with you. I am shocked though. I'm surprised that we've not signed a veteran to teach these young guys how to be players.
And I think that'll come. I do believe that will come. But right now they being the young rookies have got to commit and be all in. Yeah. They have to give that. They have to give up being just a regular person. They have to be a NFL football player all the time, all day, from now until the end of this first season.
But another aspect to this, and the C3 Girl Gang's really been saying this out there on Twitter, is it's good to see Ron Rivera fired up and a little bit ticked off, right? Just resting on your laurels and being comfortable gets you nowhere in life. Mm-hmm. Seeing that fire in his belly, that's a good thing.
One of the things that concerns me about this is that I've been watching some of these rookies on Twitter. And, the younger players, and I feel like this group is even a little bit more active than past groups when it comes to social media. And one person, by the way, who is a fantastic follow on Twitter is Jeremy Cash. That guy, Duke graduate, got like a master. I think he's like working on a master's degree or something like that. Mm-hmm. And he is if he really lives like his tweets are, that is a good dude that you can expect to do all the things Joey said needed to be done. On the other hand, if you judge people by their Twitter handles, I'm a little concerned with the Worley kid a little bit. You know, there were immediately when he's drafted, there's questions about him being in this altercation in a nightclub. DG said they did their due diligence and cleared him on that. But what I've been seeing is that like he's already asking for respect on Twitter, and you know he hasn't done it. He said something about like, and it was just him having fun with his jersey up. And then the other one, he puts up a tweet, guys, that said something like, "I don't check my DMs or my notifications in my email, but my girlfriends do."
Oh, gee.
You know, is that my question? And you know, we're mountain out of a molehill. You know, I say all types of rude and crude things on the internet, but I also am a little bit of those things. So, you know, you got to wonder, can they keep it together? Can they, or is this something to be considered? The fact that we could take a step back defensively. Are we going to go back, Joey, to that hold your breath if we don't get a sack?
I would have to say I fear that at the beginning it's going to feel like that. You know, and looking at where we are with our secondary, the other 9 guys on defense are really going to have to play really tough and mistake-free football, because the corners, if they're the 2 we assume are going to be starting, the rookies, they're going to make mistakes. They're going to get beat. So the other 9 guys have to really be on their game. And as the season progresses, we'll see these guys get better. You know, it happens every year. They will get better. They will improve. But there's going to be a steep learning curve at the very beginning.
Okay, on to another better news. Second-year players getting a lot of love from the Rivera camp. We've heard a lot about Devin Funchess stepping up, Shaq Thompson also standing out and making plays all over the place. But another guy, and it's time for another little bird watching, is this is what Ron Rivera had to say about our buddy Damiere Byrd.
Damiere appreciates saying that he looks bigger. But if there is one thing you see, his routes are even better than they were last year, and that's a big compliment, because he works very hard at it. You see him attacking the ball. One thing that Ricky likes to preach with his receivers is that they got to attack the football when it's in the air, and you see that from Damiere, so that's exciting, and you see that he's growing into the position. Again, he's a young man that's going to be very competitive as we go into training camp, and I think he'll have a good opportunity to be a contributor.
Immense speed. Burn Bradbury in practice for a touchdown pass. Now, people started freaking out and talking junk about that, but that kid's got 4.28 speed. He's insanely fast. Mel, is it exciting to see, and do you think he has an actual chance of making this roster?
I had lunch today with C3 writer, longtime contributor Ken Dye today. He's actually out west here in Las Vegas, so we were able to meet up for lunch today. And this is one of the topics we talked about. I mean, you got 14 wide receivers, and we're going to keep maybe 6, and you've got 4 locks. So you really have probably have Hill, Byrd, Garrett vying for those last few spots there.
Burson is in that mix
and
too,
Burson,
right?
that was the other
He
one.
rolled his ankle today. I don't think can he really make this team?
Didn't we say that last year?
Yeah, I mean, every year we think he's going to be the odd man out, and every year he's on the roster or on the practice squad.
So Byrd has a real shot, man, and I really am so glad to hear that his route running's gotten good, and he's attacking the ball, because that means the coaches have to rely on you and have to know that you're going to be in the spot that you're assigned to be in, and that's what it sounds like to me that he's doing. And at 4.28 type speed, man, that changes what you can do on offense. So I'm really hoping he earns a spot, and I think he will.
At Scylla H on YouTube says that it was singular. It was his girlfriend. I felt like I saw immediately all these people started talking about plural and this and that, but I guess I was wrong. Either way, I'd like to. I hope that he's going to be focused because we're going to need those guys to contribute, and whether they're starters or not, we're going to need them to grow up really quickly. And I think that's what Ron Rivera is suggesting. Okay, so Mel, give us your starting wideouts, the wideouts that make this.
Well, the locks are Kelvin Benjamin, who looks incredible from what I've seen at camp. I mean, his route running.
Okay.
Woo. All right, and then you got Devin Funchess.
All right.
Then you've got Ted Ginn.
Okay.
Then you have Philly Brown. So those four, in my opinion, are locks. And
wow.
And we're going to carry 6.
Okay.
So
leaves
you got
2 more.
It leaves 2 more. And the ones that I really want to see make it are Demir Byrd and the young man who I think if he's on our practice squad, we're going to lose him, and that's Kearis Garrett. So,
Joe, how do you feel about that list? Do you agree with it?
I agree with 3 of the 4 locks for sure. I'm kind of I don't know about Philly Brown. I think
I feel the same way, Joey. I'm with you.
Yeah, I just don't know about Philly Brown. He has his moments for sure.
I thought you guys were going to say you didn't think Ted Ginn was a lock.
No, I think we like his speed. We like what he's able to do, what he did last year. I think 44 total catches, 10 touchdowns. That's pretty impressive. I just don't know about Philly. I'm not sure.
Well, you know what? If Stephen Hill is impressive, and Garrett is a guy they want to hang on to, and Byrd is doing what he says, maybe you guys are right. Maybe Philly's on the bubble.
Odd man out.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think in the real world, Ted Ginn, or in a typical world, Ted Ginn would actually could be on the bubble if these guys were improving. But I think the chemistry is there with Cam Newton. Right. I think that people like him a lot. I think he meshes well with the coaching staff, and also I just don't think that this team is ready to just turn everything over to young kids.
Yeah.
Entirely.
You have to have some bets. Yeah.
And so I think in any other team, in any other world, Philly Brown would also. I think his job is look, he's done some tremendous things for being undrafted. We asked him to probably play a bigger role than necessary at times, or maybe that was best for him. He struggled early, showed some toughness last year, and coming out of that off of a very harsh preseason, had a great postseason game against Arizona. Yeah. So, I mean, he's actually seemed to show up in big moments. I remember 2 years ago when we went to Seattle, he was one of the few guys that seemed to do pretty well in that game. What concerns me here is that I think that if he makes it, that's just too much of sticking with guys rather than guys you're really willing to hope for a higher upside. The other thing is Philly Brown is coming off of a shoulder injury too as well. So I don't know how much that's going to affect his play and his ability, but everything is pointing to me, I don't know how Stephen Hill doesn't make this team, guys. Is that the way that they're talking about him? And here, actually, I've got a clip. Ricky Prohl on WFNC last week talking about Stephen Hill. Here he is.
As a coach.
Ricky, I need to take you back to what you said about Stephen Hill, because I believe myself and a lot of other people just kind of considered him a tease. Boy, my God, how good would he be if he could catch the ball? If he could just catch the damn ball, how good would he be? Is this guy a true threat to get a helmet on Sundays?
Let me tell you, this kid, and I tell him that, and that's why I hurt for him so bad, because he gets drafted in the second round. I loved him coming out. He's got great speed. He can drop his hips for a big guy. I mean, this kid's 6'4", running 4.2, 4.3, and it doesn't work out in New York, and he's a bust, and he's this, he's that, and he comes here and doesn't say a word. He's on the practice squad 2 years ago, and busts his tail every day and never complains, never says a word. And we work on his game, attacking the ball, being aggressive. Don't worry about dropping it. Just attack the football. He's got big hands. And he comes into camp last year and he's killing it. He has Cam Newton. I mean, it may have been Kelvin and Stephen Hill as our starters. He was getting ready to make me famous as a coach. That's what I told him. Because
we'll ask Cam later.
Around both.
We'll ask Cam later today.
Yeah, ask him. Ask Cam how well Stephen Hill was playing in training camp last year, and him just using his speed and his explosiveness coming off the ball and making plays down the field. Stephen Hill has got such a inner strength, and his work ethic. He's made Kelvin Benjamin better in the offseason. There's no doubt in my mind he has pushed Kelvin to get to where he is right now. Because if Kelvin had to do it by himself, he would be ready, but he wouldn't be at the point in recovery as he is right now. And you could probably ask the trainers that, and they'd probably agree with me. But Stephen Hill he has worked his tail off. I've seen people have the injuries he's had, and they can't even walk the same. They can't even walk normal. This guy's running full speed. He's getting in and out of his cuts. He's practicing like anybody else in our room is.
We're talking Rick.
That's all right. I've taken a lot of criticism, and I obviously have been very sensitive about this criticism for the last 2 years, right? When we signed Stephen Hill, we caught up with our boy Frankie Vittorini, Jets fan and writer, and we got the inside on Stephen Hill. One of the things that he told us, Joey, way back when we said this, is that he didn't attack the ball. And what is Ricky Proehl talking about now? This confidence. Really, when you hear that, all right, so I went in and I said all these good things. I found Proehl. He was talking uphill that year. Again, he was talking him up last year going into training camp. And this is what people kept telling me. That's coach speak. That's coach talk. That's what they're supposed to do. What is he supposed to say? That he isn't making progress, that he doesn't have a good shot, that he isn't this and that? That's more than coach talk, fellas. Right. That was a man crush.
That was a man crush.
Yes, that's exactly right. There is a true desire right there for Hill to succeed. And he sees something special in this. If this was just coach speak, he would just be like, hey, this kid's working hard. He came off a tough injury.
Guys, think about that. If he is as good as Proehl is saying, imagine the starting lineup of Kelvin Benjamin, Devin Funchess, and Stephen Hill. That would be the triple tower threat never seen before in the NFL. That would be unbelievable.
Not Carolina.
And imagine if you went like 4 wide and you threw Byrd in there.
Whew.
Jesus.
Like it would be the biggest. It would be the biggest lineup with the fastest little person on the earth.
Wow.
Look. It's not coach speak, Joe. Joe. He said he was about to make me famous.
That's the thing.
That's going beyond.
Yes.
That is going beyond.
That if it was coach speak, he would not have uttered that sentence. Those words would never come out of his mouth if it was coach speak. And he believes it. You could hear in his voice that he is convinced that Stephen Hill is a superstar in waiting. And that is exciting news if you're a Panther fan. Ricky Proehl, never a flashy kind of receiver, always making the plays that needed to be made, always could be counted on to catch the ball. Very practical. Right? He's not going to say this about someone unless he truly, truly believes it. It's not his nature. It's not his style to embellish.
He hasn't been going on about Byrd like that. Now, look, I mean, he said good things. Has he fawned over Funchess like this? Or Ted Ginn or Philly Brown? I mean, he said good things about them. But this is really... He wants to. I think this is like his project.
Yes.
I think if Stephen Hill comes into, if he can make Stephen Hill what he's supposed to be, I think that tells us a lot about Ricky Proehl as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that gets him a better job offer somewhere else. Unfortunately.
Okay, we got a question. Yes. And, that's something we're going to have to write about. We're going to have to start talking about on this podcast more is the continuity of keeping this coaching staff together, keeping Ron Rivera, Sean McDermott, Mike Shula, and these guys, this strength, that's creating a strength that it's going to be hard when those guys leave to keep continuity. Right now, the coaching staff is stable. The player fluctuations happen, but imagine trying to do both of that at the same time.
That'd be tough.
We got a question from one of our newest writers, and you can find his work on CarolinaCatChronicles.com. You can follow him at Savage Supercam. He asked this, and he said, will Cam get better or worse with Kelvin Benjamin back? He says, I know it's a dumb question. It's not a dumb question. It's an interesting question, but there's meaning in it. There's a piece up on CarolinaCatChronicles.com about how the lack of Kelvin Benjamin last year helped Cam Newton progress as a passer. And I think you saw this a ton last year, guys, he was hitting 6, 7, 8 receivers, or spreading the ball around to running backs, to tight ends, to wide receivers. Nobody had the 10 catch, 130 game. Maybe Olsen a couple of times, Funchess one game, but he made good decision. He was forced to be precise. His receivers weren't getting a ton of separation. Kelvin Benjamin, does he make him better, or does he become a security blanket again, Joey?
Oh no, I think he's better. He was so reliant on. Cam was so reliant on Benjamin's rookie year, and not having him last year really forced him to see the whole field. And now he has that sight, that vision, and he gets a huge target back. So I think Benjamin coming back is going to make Benjamin better and Cam better, because last year Cam grew so much. It's going to be good.
Yeah, I think that, Mel, my take on this is Kelvin Benjamin is coming back at a time for Cam Newton. Cam Newton, playing with a lot of confidence, also chip on his shoulder from the Super Bowl loss, and he did that all with very limited talent last year. So Cam Newton adding Kelvin Benjamin and some new burgeon, this kind of emerging maybe possible talent at wide receiver and Funchess and other guys, I think all of a sudden now Cam Newton has a ton of weapons and he makes them better. Do you kind of feel the same way, Mel?
I want to, and yes, I think so, but Super Savage certainly brings up a good point. I mean, what if Cam starts looking Kelvin's way a little bit too much, a little bit too long, and regresses and doesn't see the field, doesn't take the time to go to that third read because he knows that Kelvin can beat most defensive backs battling for the ball. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but you got to look out for that. I mean, that could be a tendency that you got to be careful about. Just like we know Cam throws the ball high when he gets excited. He has shown that he likes to look Kelvin Benjamin's way. So, I think it's a valid point he brings up.
Here's where things I think are a little different than they were 2 years ago. One place the Panthers have improved tremendously, the offensive line.
Yeah.
Yes.
Totally.
And we saw that. And look, another thing we need to talk about, we're going to talk about in just a moment, is Ryan Kalil's extension and how that was a good deal for the Panthers and what that shows about their confidence in this offensive line. But that gives Cam an opportunity. The other thing now with Cam Newton is if you're getting these weapons around and these other guys that can make plays, Cam Newton really all he has to do is find single coverage.
Mm-hmm.
That's all as a quarterback. He barely even has to pick up the blitz.
Right.
He just needs to look out there, survey the fields, take the snap, and decide immediately who's in single coverage and just throw it their way. If they're all 6'4", it's going to be hard for people to beat them on the jump ball.
Yep.
So I see this just getting better and better and better. Legacy Line brings up this about Demir Byrd's pass today, that he smoked the secondary for a TD pass down the side, 30 yards.
So if you're an optimist, Byrd scored a nice blazing 30-yard touchdown. Everything's great. If you're a pessimist, boy, our secondary got torched.
You know where I'm an optimist about is that I think we saw Cam Newton tremendously successful on big chunk plays last year. The deep ball was connecting. He was hitting that. You're hitting the little guy down the field like that. If you're doing that, I mean, I think this is the year. I think Cam Newton is about to have a transcendent football year for this very reason, is that he is not a story at this camp. He is not injured, and he's getting to work with his guys. Healthy.
So here's the key question: what is going to replace the dab?
Oh, I don't know. I don't. Maybe he'll do the little Dicky dance, which is like a bird walk.
He had the air drums going today at practice, I hear.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a good question. I think Braylon had a suggestion. It was something like, well, I don't know. I don't know enough about dancing, and clearly you don't want me to do any of that. So moving on, Ryan Kalil signed what was a very friendly deal for him, not necessarily team friendly. I heard on the OTC podcast, Carolina getting a little grief, or some grief about how maybe that he wouldn't have earned this on free agency or blah, blah, blah. And I think I have the details. Joe, did you guys talk about this last week while I was gone?
We did mention it, just about the fact how it was a good signing and what Kalil offers the Panthers and what keeping him as a Panther, what benefits we would receive for it. So, yeah, we did cover it, but we didn't cover it from the perspective of the monies.
Okay, so this is the deal, is he signed a 2-year contract extension worth $16.75 million. He received a $6 million signing bonus and a $5 million roster bonus, which is guaranteed a portion of his contract. Each year the contract, if he's there on the third roster day, he gets a $1.5 million bonus. The way I see it is that they're going to pay him $13 million this year. Upwards of that, which is like the top rate. Then he's going to drop next year to the $7 or $8 million range. So just say you average that that's about $10 million. You're paying him some pretty top flight dollars.
Okay. Let me play devil's advocate here with you, Tony. You make a point about paying him top-notch dollars. You're right. But the reason we're doing that is he's the best center in the NFL. He's the only center to make the NFL top 100. Yes. The only center to make the NFL's top 100 players this year. So what does that tell you? Your center is one of the best 100 players in the league based on players in the league. He's worth that money. I'm sorry.
I think too, when I think about this, and I'm glad you say that, is even if he isn't necessarily worth every dollar like that if he were to go to free agency. And what the podcast was saying is that if he was going to go to another team, they wouldn't pay him upwards of $11 million.
I think somebody would.
Somebody would.
He's a multiple-time All-Pro center.
Yeah.
Well, he's also 31 years old, right? Yes. But here's where I think this says is I think that they gave Ryan Kalil this money not only because is he worth it, but this says to us is that we need to be confident that this position isn't going to be a problem for us in the next 2 years as we continue to build this roster. Right, I think that's a nod to saying we've got something good going on the offensive line, and that we don't need to mess it up by just trying to save a couple of bucks.
Well, yeah, I mean, one point I wanted to make earlier in the show when we were talking about KK Short's deal is yes, you want to be financially smart, but man, you don't want to get to be known around the league as the team that doesn't want to pay.
Right. You don't want to be
it's
the
a thin-
league cheapskate.
Right, it's a thin line to walk. You don't want to
Yeah.
overpay and mortgage your future, but you don't want to become the team that all the free agents are going, I don't really want to go there because they're not really going to pay you. So taking care of your long-term vets, taking care of Ryan Kalil, nobody can say that.
Right. And I think, if you look at it, Tony, you're right. He is 31, but the type of center he is, he doesn't depend on his physical tools to be a dominant player.
God, how in the world is he only 2 years older than KK Short?
I know, right? Isn't that crazy?
Jeez.
That's
3.
crazy. 3 years.
3.5. I think KK. Here, I gotta look this up. Every time I look at K1 Short's age, it bugs me.
Is that not crazy? I mean, Ryan Kalil
Says he was born February, so he just turned 27. February 2nd, 1989.
Oh, okay.
Well, not. He's
okay.
27 and a half.
Right, 27 and a half.
It's still just trying to get, and he still got, that's older, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if he was a number 1. What if he was a first-round pick? He wouldn't get his first deal until he was 31.
Exactly.
Ryan Kalil's deal would be his first deal.
So listen, what I'm saying about Kalil is he is 31, yes, but he doesn't rely on his physical tools to dominate. He relies on his technique and his knowledge. So being 31, he's not gonna digress. He's gonna stay the same, perhaps even get a little bit better because of his experience. And he's so well versed in the offense that he can help all these young guys along the line, Norwell, Turner, and anybody we draft over the next season or two to really integrate themselves into the scheme, and he can help them really learn the scheme.
Is
why.
that the easiest position, Joey, to age on the offensive line?
I think if you're a certain type of center, yes. I think you can play longer than most of the other positions. Mike Webster, for example, for the Steelers, he played for, I want to say, 20 seasons almost. Centers can play a very, very long time.
I like the deal as well, and I think that it's a nod to how important he is to what we have going on in Carolina. I think that, and they again held a lot of cards there, and they could have done, but you can only blow up so much, and we see that Dave Gettleman makes these hard decisions, but obviously he's okay with certain dudes, like these guys like him. And you know what? One thing I like about Kalil more than his play, I know he's loved by the fans, is that dude's always got Cam Newton's back. Everywhere he tosses, it's a genuineness to it. So I like how he sticks up for him. I like that camaraderie between him, Greg Olsen, and Cam Newton. That always, when you got these kind of stand-up dudes talking good about Cam, I like that because that tells us that the Cam stuff is blown out of proportion. I did want to say one thing about, I thought I had something about the K1 Short. One more thing is, Tolbert. I saw a tweet from Mike Tolbert who said, now that KK is going to get, you better pay him. Because he just had retweeted the Fletcher Cox deal. Tolbert, why is he running his mouth? Shouldn't he keep his head down a little bit?
Yes. Yes.
I would, because you don't want to get, and I think that K1 Short has showed that he's kind of respectful too of what Dave Gettleman. I think Dave Gettleman may negotiate in good faith, and I don't think that agents trust that. But I think that he just got pissed with Josh Norman's agent and him, and just said, you know what, I'm done.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was. It was a matter of frustration. He felt like they were not going to get anywhere, that they weren't going to budge, so why waste my time?
Yeah.
If you're not willing to talk and
be realistic.
And move numbers around, that's not negotiating. So I think that was a problem. And I have to say, I think KK is acting in good faith by showing up at camp, by not, being at mandatory camp, by not holding out, by participating,
Right.
by not running his mouth as far as I have to get this deal worked out, not saying too much. Just do your work, do what you're supposed to do, and everything else will take care of itself. I believe that.
My final thought on this is that I don't think a holdout would help him. I don't think it would help the situation with him getting more money. In fact, what I think he should do is go to Dave Gettleman and say, I'd like to work out something right at the right value. And like we talked about, shortening that contract, I think that helps everybody, and I think that helps him make more money in the long run.
Yep.
Right.
Totally
Last show tonight before we jump in and get our ISO picks.
I was going to say.
Remmers, did you have anything to say about Remmers?
Remmers, I read, I think it was on BBR, that he was assured by Ron Rivera, he has a starting job. And Rivera defended Remmers. He knows a lot of people have been giving him all kinds of grief over the Super Bowl, but Rivera defended him. I listened to a soundbite where he said, Remmers has only been starting for us. It's not like he was a starter somewhere else and played all these games and has all this experience. He's only got 24 games of experience.
Yeah.
So
and he started all last year.
Right. And that includes all last year. All these games have been for us. So if you put that into perspective, he's just a little bit more than a rookie. He's only had 1 year of actual playing time. So I think the job he's done, if you put it into that perspective, has been really outstanding.
It has.
He went up against a top-flight premier pass rusher in Von Miller in the Super Bowl, and it showed that he's only got 24 games experience. So, let's ease up on the guy and let's, give him a fair shake. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people this year.
Why don't we just say what it really is that he has played well, but at the same time, we don't expect him to be a superstar, right? Is that I think that he's an asset to have on this team. I think that even if he isn't considered a lock to be a starter, even if he were to find himself next year or some point being in the rotation or being moved around, I don't think that's a knock on him. I think what he's done is he's done a lot for this team, and we've only been better with him. And we had a great season last year. Really tough game in the Super Bowl. I think that's hard to judge. Not good footing, but all those people were on skates. It wasn't just him.
Right, they were sliding everywhere. Yeah.
But he did get beat a lot in that. But you know what is that he struggles to keep it through the year. He slows down at the end.
Here's the wall.
So maybe if we can give if maybe we can give him a little break every now and then.
I'll tell you, Daryl Williams, he's my guy. He is my guy.
I agree. I think I read that Remmers started or played some left tackle today, and when he was on the left side, Williams came in and played the right side.
Oh, if you guys remember, old Scott Karasik said that Daryl Williams couldn't even play right tackle in this league. Remember that? And he's a monster.
He even said Todd Gurley should not be drafted in the top 3 rounds.
Oh, gosh. What an idiot.
What an idiot.
Okay.
Ice up, Scott Karasik.
All right, guys, let's get in our ice up picks and get on out of here. Joe, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, normally I like to prepare something and have something written down, but I was in a time crunch today and I wasn't able to, but I do feel strongly about something, and I have a strong pro right to bear arms opinion, but at the same time, folks, I am a reasonable guy. Okay, I don't like the idea of putting limitations on magazines and ammunition capacity, that kind of thing, because that starts and it's a slippery slope to come back from something like that. But I am for sensible gun laws, and I think anyone that at any time has been looked at by the FBI, CIA, NSA, your local police authorities should not be allowed, has been looked at by a law enforcement division, government security division for possible terrorist links, and has shown a tendency for sympathy toward these radical Islamists. I believe that they should not be allowed to purchase firearms, and if at least they should be monitored, and there should be a waiting period for these people to be cleared before allowed to buy firearms, and that may make some Second Amendment proponents upset by doing this, but I think it's sensible.
Or First Amendment proponents, or I mean, the thing that I don't like about that, Joe, and we're not going to get too much into it, is that it's okay to monitor people. It's better to monitor people than it is to just say you shouldn't own an assault rifle. I mean, an assault rifle it's not a hunting weapon. Let's just be clear.
I mean, let's be honest about this. It is the same thing as a hunting rifle. It's just a different shape. It's the look of it that's different. It's not an automatic weapon because you can't buy an automatic weapon. It just doesn't look like a hunting rifle. But that's all it is. And it is the appearance of it that frightens people.
I don't know. Okay, well, I'll defer to you on that because I don't know that, but I do know this. Is a dude tweeted out that he said he went and bought an AR-17 in 7 minutes today. I can't even get into my email in 7 minutes. I mean, or get through a line at Walmart in 7 minutes.
Well, if you're in a state where you can get a concealed carry permit, it is that easy. You've been
7 minutes. Good Lord.
You've been vetted.
But shorten voting. Okay, ice up to
those people who think it's okay for everyone to get a gun, because I don't believe it is. If you've been affiliated with any radical Islamic group, it should be illegal for you to possess a firearm for the potential of the damage you can do.
Let me take that even one step further. Not only should they not be able to, but should they try to, should it not be then immediately reported to the FBI?
Yes, and I think that's a great addition to what I'm saying now. I think that's absolutely right.
Nice job. Yep.
Mel Mayock, you're up.
All right. Well, after talking about guns and everything else, I'm going a little bit of the lighter side, a little bit of what we've been talking about today. Sometimes in sports, some dumb owner drives the market up unnecessarily. I think the first time I really saw it was to one of my favorite players. If you guys remember Grandmama, Larry Johnson with the Charlotte Hornets back in the day. I mean, he got that contract from George Shinn, and the entire NBA just dropped their collective jaws. They could not believe he was getting. Somebody out there in the Twitter world, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was something like a 7-year, $89 million deal. That's the number I remember. And that was just absolutely staggering at the time. And that changed the NBA landscape forever. Well, here we are again. I mean, you've got a guy in Fletcher Cox who has averaged 5 sacks a year. He had 4 sacks the year before last. No, he had 9.5 last year, so he had a great year. He had 4 the year before, 3 the year before that. Now this guy is getting more, at least reported, and Professor, you got somebody coming on to straighten us out on some of these numbers we hear, but at least reportedly, he is getting $20-some-odd million more guaranteed than what Von Miller is being offered right now. So Jeff Lurie, the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles, after we thought some sanity was coming back to that organization after crazy Professor Chip Kelly left, after all the crazy stuff he did, now the owner took over and he's changing the landscape for defensive tackles, and I'm sure David Gettleman and 30 other GMs across the league's collective jaws dropped. Again, just like they did for Grandma Ma back in the day. So, Jeffrey Lurie, owner of the Philadelphia Eagles, thanks for screwing over our negotiations with KK Short, and please ice up, son.
You know, there was an opportunity to get the market back into a reasonable position. Is that there was an opportunity after that Sue contract? Is that it looked like it was just going to be an outlier. I mean, Malik Jackson contract, his was big, but when you really look at it, it's not
6 years, $90 million.
Yeah, but they, a lot of the money's locked up early, so they're not handcuffed to them. There was an opportunity with this Fletcher Cox deal to bring it into a reasonable range.
Yeah.
And to me, the concern is that, I mean, that's a 9.5 sack guy, and that was his best year. And all of a sudden you're doling it out. I'm not saying he shouldn't get paid, but like all this make me. So I'm with you. 15 million would have been helpful.
In defense of Fletcher Cox, he does play in a 3-4, and he is the nose tackle.
Right. Good point.
So
and he's good against the run. Is huge, right? And what about this? Is that Muhammad Wilkerson's going to sit out, and that's another one that's going to bring. So, that's why it's a bubble, and it could burst.
It is.
It's a bubble that could burst, and I don't think that we're going to be in it. All right. Also, by the way, there was a tweet that came in. We're not going to talk about it tonight, but we are going to put it on the agenda. Panthers Larry at Brandon Russell. It looks like Jones sent me this. My buddy and I were just discussing possible K1 short in-game scenarios. One of them was trading for a first-round pick. Boom. My head just blew up. I hadn't even thought about that yet. Okay, my ice up pick of the week goes to, I was split down the middle as usual. I was thinking about doing something from Paris, particularly Asian tourists who are horrible. Asian tourists are the worst, man. Is that like they ain't ever been out of the house before or something. Just very odd people that don't understand lines and act like, I don't know. It's just strange. But God bless them. What my iced up pick goes to is to a guy that doesn't get blessed very often, and that's Darren McFadden. This guy.
Oh,
Lord.
Oh, that guy.
Darren McFadden just had surgery on a broken elbow. Now, how you break an elbow? I don't understand this. Like, how do you break an elbow? On top of that, he broke his elbow by trying to save his cell phone. So he went to drop his cell phone, and instead of letting it crash to the floor and catch it, he decided to break his elbow. First of all, how the hell do you do this? Did you fall on a landmine? How do you break? What did you fall off of?
That must be some dang good pizza, man.
Why did you fell off a dang second-story balcony or something? And how do you break this guy, he can't catch a break. Well, he can. It's just in his elbow. So to you, Darren McFadden, ice up. All right.
Ice up. He is icing up. He had surgery on it today.
Literally.
And I did hear it was an accident at home, but I did not hear the surrounding.
Yeah, that reminds me. You remember Nate Burleson, the wide receiver for the Lions? He broke his elbow. I think it was his elbow. It might have been his forearm. In the car when he had to hit the brakes and his pizza was going from the passenger seat into the floor, and he reached over to get it and broke his arm.
Unbelievable.
So these guys need to drink some damn good.
They need to drink some milk.
That's right. Exactly. All right, this is the C3 podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com every Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Joe, tell them how they can get after you and where they can find our work at.
Guys, you can find me on Twitter at Joe Riolano, and please look for our work, our podcasts, all sorts of exciting stuff on our website, CarolinaCatChronicles.com. It is the premier source for all Panther news from the fan perspective. Here at C3, We are fans, and we do this for fans.
Mel Mayock, it's good to be hanging out with you again. Tell them where they can find you on Twitter and everywhere else.
Well, thank you, Professor. It's great seeing you again. It's been a few weeks since we all been together. Had a great time. Let me give a quick plug for the site. Father's Day is on Sunday. Don't forget Dad. And if you haven't bought his present yet, go out to CarolinaCatChronicles.com, go to the shop tab, go to the Amazon.com, through our website, and you'll be helping out C3 just a little bit, and we'd appreciate it. It costs you no more. But do your shopping through CarolinaCatChronicles.com shop tab. And, hey, be Panther Nation. Be a part of our voice. If you want to write for us, let us know. We're always looking for new contributors.
I am the Professor. You can find me at cat_chronicles. You can check out our work at CarolinaCatChronicles.com. You can find the podcast on Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, or just go to our website and grab the RSS feed. Be sure to check our website out for the latest Panther fan news from the fan perspective. Until next week, bonne soirée.
Right on.